if you're not talking about the very problem that everybody is well aware of, certainly if they're walking into your facility wearing a mask or wondering if they have to wear a mask because your staff members are wearing a mask, or they're asking why your staff members aren't wearing a mask, it's on everybody's mind. You can't ignore it. I'm Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to the Voice for Fitness Professionals podcast, where I address marketing and sales strategies so that you can create a business and a life you love without being salesy, pushy, or sleazy. And right now, during COVID-19, that has never been more important, especially if you're worried, concerned, wondering about your fitness future. What you need to be doing right now is going into action, but calculated action. Figure out what your strategy is. Start with a plan. Even though you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel and you can't see around the corner, you can start leading and making a difference. And step by step, the place to go next will appear. This short episode is all about fitness marketing mistake that you need to avoid during COVID-19. The biggest of them would be ignoring that we're in a pandemic, that things are just simply not normal. But I'm going to get to that one later. I'm going to start at the top. First, before we dive in, this episode has been brought to you by the Flipping 50 Fitness Specialist. It's the first and it's the only hormone balancing exercise program designed for women in all stages of menopause, perimenopause to postmenopause, which is till death do you part. So, if you're working with midlife women, and especially if you are a midlife woman, because that is exactly who she'd much rather work with. Nothing against those of you who are 20 and 30, and I highly encourage you too to take the training. We can accelerate your biological age, and we don't want to do that to you, but we do have to work a little bit harder if you want to work with them, because these women want to trust somebody gets them. The get you factor is big for her. She wants to know a trainer understands that it's different. She's not a mini man, and she's also not a 20 or 30 something female anymore. And her hormones, her body composition, her metabolism, and her socialization is very different. And yet, she still wants to fit into the clothes in the back of the closet. She'd love heads to turn when she walks into the room. So you can't forget any of that if that's who you want to work with. I'll put a link at the show notes for the Flipping 50 Fitness Specialist, and it'll be at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/programs. And this podcast episode, you'll find the show notes where I put almost the transcript for the show and mentions. Any links to the juicy mentions in the show are always there at show notes at fitnessmarketingmastery.com today/mistakes. But I also want to encourage you to subscribe in iTunes. Take it with you, especially this month. I'm on a streak. I'm not streaking, but I'm on a streak. And I'm doing 30 days in a row. It's a challenge for myself to support women, particularly trainers. And guys, if you're listening, don't go away. I want to support you too, but women in particular need some extra support, because women in midlife are really seeking support right now, not just because of the moment that they're in menopause, but because of the moment they're in now in COVID-19. They're at home. They have people under their roof who've not been under their roof for a long time. There are people at home working, so they're trying to get out of the house. They're next to the refrigerator. They're cooking much more than they want to be cooking. So many changes to so many different people that almost everyone's lives, but particularly midlife women's, have been turned upside down. So there you have it. I'll leave everything in the show notes. So let's dive right in. Number one, the biggest fitness marketing mistake during COVID-19 is selling the same thing that you were selling in January of 2020. There are unique problems happening right now. Uncertainty, less cash flow, those are true for some. If you know your clients, you know if that's them. So low ticket items, low ticket offers can be a smart thing to do. Take a program that you already had, or maybe it was a freebie, and expand it. But you can take a program, a bigger program that you already had, and shrink it, do a part of it, do a section of it, and make it at a rate that's too good to pass up. Make it a month long, make it 14 days, but make it something like $29 or $47 that's easy for people to say yes to, easy for people to get a community, to get a step-by-step plan and some guidance because they want to get things under control. They just don't know where to start. Get them into that short-term program, not an ongoing open-ended program. Right now, people need things with some certainty to it, some opening and closing and conclusion, and you need to give them that. They will be very likely to then buy the next thing. And you may have that very small percentage of people. Ordinarily, it's about 15% of people will say yes right away. Like, never mind the freebie. I want the membership. Give it to me right now. Give me the VIP. I don't want to have to deal with this. There are those people. And unfortunately, we love those people so much. We often ignore the rest of the people. There's people that are people who need to think a little bit longer. And then there are those people who need to think a lot longer. And they'll follow you. They'll stay on your email list, but they won't click and buy. But you still have to nurture all three of them. So give those fast action takers something they can do right now, even the ones who can't afford more right now, because they may find a way to make it work when you do them one step at a time. So focus on the right now problems that people have and build a short-term, small investment program. Fitness marketing mistake number 2 is targeting a market that has shrunk or potentially disappeared right now. Who you want to be targeting is people who've got some urgency, some fear, and that money rather than those who are barely able to pay you. So if you've targeted in the past, you've targeted parents, or you've worked with somebody who really needed it and budgeted for it, that budget may not be there right now. That budget might be buying groceries. That budget might be gone because the job or all the hours that they were doing is also gone. But there are a lot of people who don't have time right now, and our time is turned into more work. For some of us, not less work. So don't assume that everybody is just sitting around waiting and that they're in a place to pay. So take a good look at who you were working with before. It may not be the same target market. So if that's true, you've got to make sure that you're not doing the same marketing strategies and techniques that you were before. You could be actually trying to reach somebody totally different and yet doing the same things. That's not a very good match. Fitness marketing mistake number 3, thinking no one is spending money right now. You won't do anything if you believe this, and it's simply not true. Remember, you're not selling service to just those in your backyard right now. So maybe there are a lot of people around you, people that you hang out with. And first of all, you need to stop hanging out with those people who don't have any money, because you become the average of those 5 people that you hang out with. Who is that? Have you looked around lately? But here's the thing to remember. If you're now online, your services are online, or you're starting to coach by telephone or Skype or FaceTime, you have no boundaries. You could be marketing to anyone. You could be marketing your Facebook ads to someone who uses an American Express and has a certain spending limit per month, and that shops at certain stores like Whole Foods and Nordstrom's. So think about, who are you targeting? Because if you're attracting Kmart and Walmart right now, You may be barking down the wrong tree. Fitness marketing mistake number 4, waiting and worrying for things to get back to normal. Now, waiting and worrying can't sound like a good plan in the first place. But if you're doing that, you're actually not really marketing. You're sending out a couple email announcements about here's what we're doing and we're open right now and here's how we're taking things really carefully and cleaning. And what about the rest? Are you telling them about how to have better sleep hygiene, about how to drink more water, about how much water is the right amount of water for them, about how they can get water and hydrate really well with other types of foods? Talk to them about where they can take their dogs to walk if it's too hot out. Did you know you can go to Lowe's and Home Depot? And talk to them about all of the things that they need to know about boosting their immune system. You know certain things, and if you don't, you can research it about how exercise should change. You can go deep and talk to them about how exercise impacts your cells and your immune system, therefore. You can talk about all of it and have a conversation based on things that are important to them right now. That's so much better than waiting and worrying for things to get back to normal. The last, but the most important, fitness marketing mistake to avoid during COVID-19 is being tone deaf. Look, everybody coming into your gym is either wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, and they are thinking, I wish I didn't have to wear this mask, or they're thinking, I wonder if they'll make me wear a mask if I'm here. They're wondering why your staff are all wearing a mask and how they feel about it. They're wondering why some of your staff are not wearing masks, but it's on everybody's mind. So don't be afraid to actually talk about the things. They're not elephants in the room. They're just right here sitting on your shoulder waiting. But everybody wants to have a little normalcy right now. We don't want to keep talking about the virus and all that it brings, but we also can't ignore the fact that it's changed things, especially in your fitness business. So you should be talking about it right now. Talk about how it's devastating that something that could be and should be so good for people right now to reduce their stress level, to help them sleep, to boost their immune system, is something that is harder to access right now. It's harder to be in a place where it's cool, that has all the equipment to meet your needs, all the options, and the instruction that makes it safe. It's hard. It's hard from both sides. And so that's a conversation that you can have. And you know, when you have a conversation, whether you're in person or you're on a Zoom webinar or you're doing this in a live Facebook group, a conversation has two-way traffic. Make sure that you do. You're asking some questions. You're polling. You're creating surveys. People want to give their opinion. You and I know they're not always right, but it's still important to give them a space to talk. And there you have it. 5 mistakes. I'm going to summarize them really quickly. Number 1 was selling the same thing you were selling in January 2020. Number 2 is targeting a market that shrunk or disappeared. Number 3 is thinking that no one is spending money right now. And number 4 is waiting and worrying for things to get back to normal. And number 5 is being tone deaf. Not even talking about the actual thing that's on everybody's mind. And there you have it. So avoiding those mistakes, you're actually going to want to be much more proactive, but I wanted to remind you that some of these things can still be going on in the back of your head, in the back of your mind, or frankly, in the back of your emails ready to go out. So make sure you address them. And I'll link to an episode where I recently gave you 12 fitness marketing ideas to jumpstart your personal training career right now. Literally during COVID-19, what's appropriate? What ideas can we get going so that you've got some ways to get the word out, talk specifically about the things that are very appropriate for talking about and for serving, ways that you serve your audience right now. So I'll link to that in the show notes. And no matter what day of the month this is, in July 2020, there's an episode coming out today and there's an episode coming out tomorrow. And you can find all of them either in iTunes, looking up Voice for Fitness Professionals podcast, or at fitnessmarketingmastery.com.